Hey guys, how you doing? Joe here. On today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the basic fundamental elemental things of wholesaling. We call it Wholesaling 101. And I'm going to be showing you step by step how simple wholesaling deals are done. And you're going to learn how actually easy it is. And my goal is to show you how profitable and exciting wholesaling is. So I've got some really cool resources to share with you, and I'm just going to dive right in. The first thing I want to share with you is this mind map. And you can get this mind map for free at flipmindmap.com. If you know me or if you've followed me for any time now, I do a lot of mind maps and I enjoy, by the way, I enjoy doing funny backgrounds like this. I'd appreciate the feedback. What do you think? Do you like backgrounds like this, or do you like backgrounds like this? But I tell you something though, I've been making a lot of money in real estate for a long time, and it's important to understand wholesaling because you need to learn how to make fast cash. All right. Let me tell you a story how I kind of got into wholesaling. I was buying a lot of programs at the time. I was learning how to buy houses with subject to. I was learning how to buy houses, lease options. I was trying to do short sales. I was trying to do rehabbing. I was trying to do buy and hold. And I was doing all these strategies. This was way back in 2006. I read a great book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but they taught you how to, the way to wealth, get out of the rat race, is to buy 100 rental properties where you're cash flowing maybe $100 on each one, $200 if you're lucky. And that's how you get out of the rat race, by buying hundreds of properties. And so that's what I was trying to do. And when I couldn't get any more bank financing, banks stopped lending me money, I started borrowing money from private investors. I started taking over mortgages on properties called subject to. I started doing owner financing. And then the market collapsed, right? Market collapsed. I started hemorrhaging money left and right. I almost went into bankruptcy. I lost all of my properties, had a lot of foreclosures, had to go into foreclosure for my own house. We did a short sale to avoid the foreclosure. Didn't matter. My credit was shot. My credit was shot for, 10 plus years or whatever. Anyway, I paid all of my private investors back by the grace of God. Paid all of my private investors back. But one of the things I learned through all of that is that is a great way to make money. To buy and hold properties, buy one or two a year, buy a little bit here, a little bit there, refinance, use leverage and all of that. I mean, the spreadsheets say it works, so it must be true. Here's the thing I learned. You can get a spreadsheet to tell you anything you want, okay? I needed cash. I had equity in these properties, but guess what? You can't eat equities. There was a famous book back then called Equity Happens, and there is some truth to that, but equity that you can't do anything with, which was quickly disappearing when the market crashed in 08, 09, that won't pay the bills. So I needed something to pay the bills. You know what I mean? I needed something that I could buy food, pay the electricity bill. Like we would come home and the electricity was turned off on a Friday night, and we'd get home and I couldn't open the garage door. So luckily one of the back windows was open so he can crawl into the house and then I can let everybody in. But the electricity was turned off and the electric company is closed on weekends. So I couldn't, and my bank is closed. So I was robbing Peter to pay Paul so I could pay the electric bill. So we had 3 kids at the time, and we had to get creative. And we had to let's go camping inside our house this weekend, kids. What do you think? So we would go camping with candles and had made fun out of it with the kids. And it was a difficult, dark time for me. There were times when I'd come home from work and my wife would have this mail that was just delivered. Well, I got a call one time while I was at work. Hey, Joe, the sheriff just came by and gave us a foreclosure notice on XYZ rental property. And then one time it was for our own property. And my wife was pregnant and crazy, stressful, horrible. How many of you can relate? If you can relate, type something in the comments. So here I am. I had done a dozen deals or more, right? But I lost all of them to foreclosure. I deeded some of them back to the owner of the property. I never did miss a mortgage payment on my subject twos, which, by the way, if you do subject twos, you've got to be really, really careful. I'm worried that we're coming up to a time where there's going to be a lot of investors that are going to be getting in trouble, getting in deep water because they don't have enough equity and they don't have enough cash flow on their subject to deals. So here's the deal. Getting rich is a worthwhile endeavor, but you're not going to get there anytime soon with just buying rental properties or doing the BRRRR strategy, or doing Airbnb and doing these little deals here and there where you're making $100, $200 a month in cash flow. Why? Because that cash flow will disappear. I promise you this will disappear in vacancies, repairs, maintenance, unforeseen circumstances. You know, when you have a vacancy, you have to go fix the house up. It's been a couple months since you collected rent. Then it's going to be a couple more months before you get a new tenant in and clean it up. And then if you have a property management company, you have to pay that property management company 1 month's rent as a fee. So any money that you're setting aside for vacancies and repairs in the future is important, right? But that little cash flow that you get after that savings, it's still going to be gone, right? Every 5 years, you got to replace something. Water heater, the roof, vandals, damage, garage door openers, like you name it. So let me show you the fastest way to make money. It's wholesaling. And that's what I'm going to be talking about here, right? So now I don't know if this will be a series or not, but I have got a lot to share with you. And I've done a bunch of videos on how to do wholesaling that I'm going to give to you a link before, somewhere down below in the description too as well, so you can view all the videos I've done before about it. I created a whole playlist. But anyway, I wanted to say this. My back was against the wall. I was hemorrhaging cash. I was still working a full-time job. I needed money. And I had bought 12, 15 different courses, you know, and I was always trying to mix and match these different programs. I would say, I want to do part of what this guy teaches, part of what this person teaches. I go to this boot camp, that coaching program. Any of you relate? So I just said, I'm going to buy one more course. I believe in investing in your education. And I'm just going to do what the guy says to do. And I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to do what he says to do. So I bought one more course on wholesaling. A good friend of mine, Chris Chico, he had a course at the time called Absentee Owner Profits. It was all about sending these ugly, stupid postcards to a dumb list that I thought everybody was mailing to, using a simple offer calculator that was really simple, and I didn't think anybody would agree to it. So I just said, I'm going to do what he says. I'm not going to change anything because I need money now. And I'm losing all these properties. I thought I was on the path to escaping the rat race, and I need like $5,000 or $10,000 to pay my bills, to pay the mortgage, to whatever. So I did what Chris said to do. I got the list that he said to get that I didn't think would be a good list. I sent his postcard that I thought was ugly and obnoxious. I used his script that I thought was immature. I used his contracts, which I thought certainly no seller would ever sign this ugly one-page contract that is 100% investor-friendly sided, you know, and I used his script and I used his contracts and I used everything. And guess what? My first wholesaling deal, I mailed a certain zip code where there's a lot of activity. And the lady who got the postcard said, I don't want to sell that house. I want to sell this other house. And this was a house way out in the sticks, probably 30 minutes from where I lived. And I was already 30 minutes from the city. So it's out in the country, an hour from downtown St. Louis, maybe a little further. And on top of that, it's a small little town, a few thousand people. I did a YouTube video on this talking about my first deal. It's just a crazy story. And it was a 3-family. So it's not a duplex. It's not a 4-family, not a small apartment. It's a 3-family. And I can't find any comps for this property. This is a lady that inherited this property from her dad who just passed away. She wanted out of it. She wanted done with it. She tried to sell it the year before. Here's the thing. I couldn't get any comps. I couldn't find any other real estate investors that were buying properties out there. So I told her no. She called me like 3 or 4 times begging me to make an offer on her property. I can't get comps. She won't tell me what she wants for it. It was listed the year before for like $140,000, but the listing expired. And so I said to her, you know what? I don't want this, but like I might be able to offer you. And I pulled a number out of, you know what? And I said, I'll give you $50,000 for it. You know what she said? Okay, fine. $50,000. Now I'm freaking out. I'm hyperventilating. Like what? She just said yes. Like she said yes to my offer that I didn't have comps. I didn't have any investor buyers. I didn't have any title companies. I didn't have any money, but I'm just going to do what Chris says to do. So what does Chris say to do? Well, use my contracts, right? Get the contract signed. By the way, I'm walking through the steps here of doing a wholesaling deal. So I finally go to her, and she was elderly. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't accused of taking advantage of an elderly lady. buying her house really, really cheap. So I made sure one of her family members was with her. She had a son that was with her. And I didn't listen to Chris, and I got all of my other my courses out, and I pulled out their contracts, and I got the most complicated contract I could get. And I added all these clauses in. They're called weasel clauses, you know. I had so many weasel clauses in there, they probably canceled each other out. And I spent hours poring over this contract. And I gave it to her. It was like 6 pages long, something ridiculous. She didn't even read it. She just signed it. And I asked her son, who was in his 20s or something, I said, is this all right? And he said, yeah, dude, whatever. And I was like, okay. So first thing I thought was like, dang it, I should have just used Chris's contract. It would have been fine. The other thing is I made a huge mistake is I gave her the earnest money. One of the things you need to do when you're doing houses, wholesaling, is you need to use earnest money deposits, which, by the way, when I'm doing vacant land, I don't do earnest money deposits on vacant land, but that's another video for another time. She wanted earnest money deposit. I gave her $1,000 in cash for earnest money deposit. Ding, 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 alarm bells, fire alarm. Don't ever do that. You always give the earnest money deposits to the title company. All right. So anyway, she signs my contract for 50 grand. Now I'm freaking out. Like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I go to Chris's course. He says, put a sign in the yard. I did. For sale by owner, investor special. I advertised it for $65,000 cash. Same day, got a call, but it was a realtor. The realtor, by the way, you understand again, I'm walking through the steps and how to wholesale a deal. But anyway, I put a sign out there, right? I get a phone call. It's a realtor. Now I'm thinking, oh no, the realtor's going to find out I'm a wholesaler. The realtor's going to find out that I don't actually own this property. Uh-oh, this is the end of this. Wholesaling stuff doesn't work. I knew it. Wholesaling is illegal, immoral, and fattening. I don't have the money to close on this thing. I don't even own it. I'm selling it for $15,000 more than my contract is to buy it. This isn't going to work. So I told the realtor, I said, listen, Mr. Realtor, I got to tell you something. I don't own this property yet. I just have it under contract to buy it. In fact, I remember telling the realtor, I bought some course that teaches how to do wholesaling, and I don't know what I'm doing. The realtor said, don't worry about it. Relax. This is a good deal. And we just want to see the property. I said, well, that's another problem because I can't, all of the 3 units are filled. They're on a month-to-month lease. The owner doesn't even have the leases. She just goes by and knocks on the door every week to try to get cash from the tenants. And the tenants don't have phones, and I can't. So this, okay, don't worry about it. I'm thinking of all these things that could go wrong instead of thinking of all these things that could go right. So the realtor says, my buyer is interested in it. And I said, oh, okay, so what do we do now? And the realtor said, well, we'll figure it out. We'll go look at it, call you back. The realtor calls me back that day or the next morning or something and says, yeah, we want to do it. Here's our contract. So the realtor sent me their contract. And I said, all right, well, I don't own this yet. What am I going to do? And they said, well, let's just use my title company. And I said, oh, well, are they an investor-friendly title company? And they said, well, I think so. I don't know. It's not a big deal. Here, call them. This is a local title company in that local small town. So I call the title company up and I say, hey, I gotta tell you something. I got this deal, but I'm buying it for 50 and I'm selling it for 65. I hope that's okay. I don't know what I'm doing. And the title company is like, relax. It's not a big deal. This is a cash transaction. No, it's not a big deal. I said, wow, okay. And this is like your mom and pop small town title company, but the buyer has cash. And this is, a 3-family. Anyway, the title company said, don't worry about it. We'll just take care of it. Fast forward like a week or 2 weeks. The buyer could never get into the property anyways. But guess what? They didn't care. It was such a good deal. This is a property that was listed on the MLS for $140,000 and was now being advertised for $65,000. You think it might be a good deal? You know what? I could have been more greedy. I could have maybe tried to get 100, but that might have made it more difficult. I didn't know what I was doing. So the title company, realtor, the end buyer, we're all working together, closed the deal. I netted at the end of the day $13,000 or $14,000 in profit. I was hooked. Wholesaling 101. It's amazing. It is so much easier. Now, do you think it's easier to escape the rat race buying 50 to 100 little houses that are cash flowing, 100 cash flowing in air quotes, $100, $200 a month? Okay. Is it easier or faster to quit your 9-to-5 job? Let's say you're making $8,000 a month, $98,000 a year. Which way is faster to escape the rat race and get out of a job, out of cubic hell? Right? Is it buying 50 properties at $200 a month where you don't really get that cash flow because there's going to be things you have to fix, or just wholesaling a deal, just wholesaling 1 or 2 deals a month? Maybe one deal you make $12,000, $15,000. Maybe another deal you make only 3, but you do 2 or 3 of them that month. I've finally figured it out. Wholesaling. This is great. Now, obviously, it's not passive. It's not recurring income. You have to work for it. But hell, what's wrong with that? Really? What's wrong with that? How much time did it take me to do this deal? All right. I picked a market where there was high demand. I pulled a list of people who own properties, absentee owners, they're investor who own properties out there. I sent a postcard. Calls came in. I called them back. I made an offer. 1 out of, 20 or 30 said yes. Then I turned around and I advertised that property, or advertised my contract, and sold the deal and made about $13,000. Do you see why I'm excited about wholesaling? It doesn't matter if it's a house, if it's vacant land, if it's a commercial property, if it's a commercial building, it's an apartment complex. It really doesn't matter. All wholesaling is buying something at a discount that somebody doesn't want anymore. The seller's super motivated. They just don't care. They want out. You buy a property at 50, 60, 70 cents on the dollar, and then you sell that property to somebody else who does want it. A landlord, a rehabber, somebody that wants to maybe live in it and fix it up themselves. Maybe it's a vacant lot. Somebody just wants to buy it to go camping on it, to ride their four-wheelers, to go shoot their guns, get off the grid, hide from the government who's going to come and give them the jab and steal their guns. You know what I'm saying? Wholesaling is really simple. It's very simple. You find a good deal and then you sell it to somebody else. This happens in all kinds of industries. It's not just real estate. Somebody buys a shoe from somebody who makes shoes out in China for $5. And then they sell it for $25 to a company here in the US that then distributes it and sells it to shoe stores that sells it for $50. So when you're in the middle, you're the middleman, you're a wholesaler. Okay? So you go to China, you buy a shoe for $5, you sell it to somebody here for $25, who then sells it for $50 to someone else. It's economics, capitalism 101. It's kind of like, you're kind of like a pawn shop, aren't you? Wholesaling really has nothing to do with real estate, if you think about it. It really doesn't. Wholesaling is like being a pawn shop. Somebody comes in with a problem. They've got this house, they got this vacant lot, they got this mobile home park that they just don't want anymore. They're done with it. They're sick with it. They're sick of it. Life happens. They go through divorce, job loss. They, like me, like I was back in 2008 and 9, I'm hemorrhaging cash. I owe a bunch of money to a bunch of banks. I owe a bunch of money to the IRS or private investors, and I need some cash now. I got hundreds of stories of deals like this, of my own, from students of ours. Somebody comes in with a problem, and who can fix it? A realtor can't fix it. A realtor can't say, all right, I'll buy this from you. I can close in a couple weeks. No big deal. No, a realtor is going to say, well, we'll have to list it. You're going to have to clean it up. You're going to have to take the trash out. You're going to have to fix it up. You're going to have to take everything off the walls. It'll be helpful if you do some landscaping to give it some lawn appeal, front yard appeal or whatever. And you got to get rid of all the pictures of your family on the wall or whatnot, right? And that's going to take a couple months, and then they're going to have a bunch of people go through the property and looking at it and then making an offer. Yeah, forget, like, it might be a hot market or a cold market. Even in a hot market where properties are selling fast, some sellers just don't want to sell it with a realtor. They don't want to pay the commissions. They don't want to go through the hassle. They don't want to wait. They just want to get rid of it. And they will exchange their property for cash. So they bring their problem in, their cabinet bookcase into the pawn shop and say, here it is. I need the money. What will you take for it? The pawn shop owner says, I'll pay you $100 for it. Then the owner of the bookshelf says, okay, $100. Boom. What does the pawn shop owner do? Pawn shop owner turns that around and, maybe takes the dust off of it, or just puts it back and advertises it to people who want bookshelves and sells it for $150. Just made a 50% margin, made a $50 profit. That's all wholesaling is. It's like being a pawn shop. In exchange for giving the seller the speed and convenience of selling that property quickly that they don't want anymore, they're giving you a good discounted price. Okay? Now, we could go into all the details of whether you can do wholesaling with or without a license. My philosophy is, number one, you should get your license. You should get your realtor's license. It's a good idea. I used to have mine. I just let it go because I got tired of taking the continuing education classes, not really using it that much. But it is helpful to have your real estate license if you want. Anymore, I just buy my own deals, by owner, and I turn around and I sell them by owner. So I'm closing on the deals. But I recommend either you get your license, number one, or number two, you use a realtor with a license to sell your properties for you. So now what does that mean? We're in all of these states where it's illegal, immoral, and fattening to do wholesaling without being a licensed realtor. Now, when you understand this, okay, you can do these deals in Oklahoma, in Illinois, in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Texas, wherever it supposedly is now illegal to do wholesaling without your license. Now you can, right? Because you buy the property. You buy the bookshelf at the pawn shop from the person that brought it in. You turn around, mark it up, you sell it to somebody else, okay? Very, very simple business model. So I have something here I want to show you, and it's a mind map where I'm going to walk through really, really quickly and high level the steps involved with wholesaling a deal. And then I'm going to give you this mind map for free so you can have it. I'm going to show you the steps. I'm going to show you how to find the good zip codes, how to find the good, how to get the lists, what to send them, how to market to the sellers, how to talk to the sellers, how to come up with offers, how the contracts and the paperwork work. So obviously I can't cover all of this in one video. I might do this in one or two parts, but I want to give you this mind map. And when you get this mind map, here it is. You ready? When you get this mind map here, there will be links to view other videos I did diving into deeper detail about this stuff. And there'll also be links to my spreadsheets and my calculators and stuff like that. All right, so to get this mind map for free, just go to flipmindmap.com. I'll try to put a link to this in the YouTube description, okay? Now, here's the class. And I got some bonuses in here too, by the way. When I did this mind map originally, this was when COVID first hit, and everybody was talking about recession. So I have a bunch of notes in here about how to survive in a recession, and you can watch the video of me talking about surviving a recession. It's important. I mean, this is even applicable in today. These are some important things you should focus on in this market. I also give us some free land flipping toolkit. I'm going to have a class on how to wholesale lease option deals. Get the audiobook for $1.99. You get my land contract for free, and you can get the Joe McCall custom signature edition of Freedom Soft in the bonuses. Right now, here, this looks like a real small mind map, okay? But trust me, it's not. This is pretty monstrous here. This is the wholesaling 101. And basically, kind of just what I said here, wholesaling real estate is simply finding a property at a discounted price and getting the property under contract to purchase it at that price. Then you take that contract that you've purchased the property for and you sell that contract to another investor for a fee. That's it. That can be done as an assignment or a double close or something like that. All right, so wholesaling 101. Let me make this in red. Are we good? All right, I like this. Now, let's say you have the seller who's not happy, wants rid of this property. And that seller has a house. All right. And this is you, the investor. You don't know if you're happy or not. You're just kind of half smiling, half frowning. And so this is A, this is B, and then this is the end buyer who's always happy because he has lots of money. Okay? And this is C, the investor. So when you buy the property, there's the A to B and the B to C. So when you are wholesaling the deal, this is you, right? This is the seller, And this is the investor end buyer. Does that make sense? Seller, you, the investor end buyer. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have a contract with A to B. Your A to B contract is to, for example, let's say this house is worth $150,000 completely fixed up. And it's a rental property, okay? And this guy here is the seller. He's a what we call a tired landlord. All right? He's sick of this property. He's sick of tenants. He hates being a landlord. This house is worth $150,000 all fixed up. But the property needs about, I don't know, $30,000 in repairs because the last tenant just trashed it. Which means the property maybe is worth as is. It's worth what? It's worth $120,000 as is. Now, I'm going to give a contract to this guy. Well, first of all, I send this guy a postcard. He calls me back and says, yeah, I'll sell it to you. So I say, okay, let's see. I'll make you an offer. So I know if an investor, a real simple formula here. Let me do a simple formula. You're going to take and I'll explain this in future videos. You're going to take the ARV, the after repair value, times 70% minus repairs minus your wholesale fee. That will be your offer, right? Okay. So let's look at this example here. You guys can still see this? All right. So it's the ARV is 150, right? So I'm going to do 150 times 70%. So that equals 105, right? Minus repairs. So it needs 30,000 in repairs, right? Remember that? Which equals $75,000. And I want to make a minimum profit of $10K. So what does that mean? That's my offer right there. I'm going to offer the seller $65,000 for this deal. So I'm going to give him a contract for $65,000. And the seller says, you know what? Fine. I don't care. I'm done. I don't want this deal anymore. You haven't received any rent. And now I'm happy. Okay? I'm thinking, okay, I got a good deal. But I don't have the cash. I don't have the $65,000 to buy the deal. I don't want to own another rental property. I hate rental properties. I hate dealing with tenants. So what do? Well, this guy here, he just read Rich Dad, Poor Dad for the 5th time. He's already got 75 doors. He wants another 75. This investor buyer here is a happy landlord. Remember, this guy's a tired landlord. This guy's a happy landlord. He wants more rental properties. He likes suffering and torment and pain. All right, whatever. To each his own. So he's a happy landlord. He wants more. So guess what? I'm going to now do a new contract from between B to C. This new contract, I have one contract A to B, and then a new contract B to C. And there's 2 ways you can do this. Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying today's video and you want to get into land investing as soon as possible, I've got a free gift for you. If you click right here, I'd like to give you 2 land flipping documents that my 2 teenage sons and I have used to generate over $150,000 in profits flipping vacant land part-time on Facebook. You can do this part-time without having to talk to sellers, without using any of your own money, and it's one of the best ways to get started and succeed in real estate investing today. Just click right here if you'd like to get it for free. Otherwise, let's get back to the video. So I could go ahead and buy it for $65,000 and then sell it for $75,000. That's called a double close. Okay? That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is called assignment. I could tell investor and buyer, happy landlord guy, I could say, hey, listen, you want this deal, let's just keep this easy because I don't want to pay any more closing costs than we have to, and you probably don't either. Because, by the way, I always make the investor buyer pay the closing costs. I mean, the end closing costs, right? So let's just do an assignment. Is that okay? He says, all right. So then what happens, I'm going to do a $10,000, what's called an assignment fee. And then what happens is this guy now takes my place. Now it becomes a contract between C and A. I assign this contract right here. I assign that contract to the investor and buyer. Then he closes on the deal. So he pays me $10,000 assignment fee, and he pays this guy $65,000. Everybody wins. The tired landlord gets his $65,000 that he wants. I get my $10,000 that I want. Okay? And this investor and buyer gets a great rental property. And you know what? He also gets a great deal because there's a lot of equity in this thing, right? So he bought it for $65,000. He pays me $10,000. So actually, he's buying it for $75,000, right? And he puts $30,000 into it to fix it up. So what does he have into the property? So he has $75,000. Let me zoom in here. Plus he puts $30,000 in it to fix it up. So he's all in, he or she is all in for what? $105,000. How much is the property worth? It's worth $150,000. How much equity does he have? He has $45,000 in equity. That's a pretty sweet deal, isn't it? Because again, when I make my offer, I'm making it at 70%. Now in some markets, you know, this might be 75%, 80%. Maybe if you're in California, you might make an offer at 80%. But the point of this is everybody wins. The seller, yeah, they could have sold this property for more than $65,000. They could have listed it on the MLS and sold it for $105,000 maybe. But they would have had to like deal with all the hassle and pain and frustration, then pay a realtor for all of that when they're just like, I just want done. I'm just done with it. I want my cash. And then you are happy because you just made 10 grand. And then the end buyer is happy because he's got a new rental property that he can fix up that has $45,000 in equity. And then he's going to be getting, maybe instead of $100 and $200 a month in cash flow, he might get $300 to $400 a month in cash flow. Or he might have enough cash, he's not even using any financing, so he's keeping all of the rent as cash flow. Does that make sense? So that is kind of how wholesaling works. You've got A to B and the B to C. Let me go back to this mind map here. You locate an investor or a rehabber or a landlord that wants to buy the property, and you sell that contract to them. You bring the contracts. You got an A to B contract, a B to C contract. Maybe you have an assignment contract, and you bring it to your title company or your attorney that closes maybe 30 days later, and you get paid. Okay, let me give you another example deal here. See if this makes sense. The after repair value is 100 grand that needs 20 grand in repairs. You want to make a $10,000 wholesale fee. This is kind of how it works. In this example, I was doing 75% of ARV. ARV is, again, after repair value. So 75% times 100 grand is 75 grand. 75 grand minus repairs of 20 grand is 55 grand. I want to make a $10,000 wholesale fee. So that means I'm going to offer the seller $45,000 for their property. So I buy it from the seller for $45,000. I sell it to my end buyer for $55,000. Or again, you can just assign the contract for 10 grand. You're really just selling the contract. You make $10,000 wholesale fee. And again, that 75% of ARV will change depending on the market. If you're in the Midwest, maybe 70%. If you're in California, maybe 80% or whatever. Depends on the deal. Now, it's important. Well, I'm not going to cover this. Speed to income. Well, you just need to get this mind map because I got so much good stuff in here. Here are the steps to wholesale a deal. Number one, you got to get your business set up properly. How am I doing on time? We're doing good here. Okay. You got to get your business set up properly. And in the mind map, you're going to see here, I'm going to show you, you need to get an LLC. If you go to joemccall.com/LLC, schedule an appointment with Prime Corporate Services. I work with them. They're going to help you get your entity structured for liability protection and branding. You're going to give you a federal tax ID or an employee identification number, an EIN. They're also going to help you get an operating agreement, which you need for opening up a business checking account. And they're going to also help you, if you want, with asset protection, tax planning, and also business lines of credit if you want. It's a free call. Just go to joemccall.com/LLC and schedule a call with Prime Corporate Services. Been using them for years. You're also going to need a bank account, right? A business bank account. There's a great book that you should read called Profit First, and there's a bank called Relay Financial Bank that will help you set up an account and implement Profit First. Okay. Now, here are the next steps. I'm going to walk through this real quick, but I want you to get this mind map because in the mind map, I walk through all of the details, and then you can also watch another video of me explaining it later. I'll show you where that is. So number one is marketing. Part of that is picking the right market. And there's a tutorial I have here on how to use ListSource. I'm probably going to do this in another video because this is so important that you pick the right market. There's a zip finder tool in FreedomSoft, freedomsoftjoe.com. You find the best zip codes, you find other wholesalers, and then you do some marketing campaigns. And in the mind map, I talk about networking. I talk about Craigslist and Zillow, direct mail, making offers on the MLS, cold calling, bandit signs, driving for dollars. So there's different things you can do. And I walk through that. I talk about a marketing plan. This is really important. Boy, there's so much good stuff here. Here's an action point checklist. All right. Get this mind map. Then we talk about how to talk to sellers. So you find a good market where there's high demand. Now you need to send them marketing, and there's different things you can do that are free, that are cheap, that are premium and expensive. Now you get the phone to ring. You need to talk to sellers. What do you say to them? And we talk about here in this mind map, sending text messages, who you can use, what do you send them, how do you send it. We talk about how to talk to sellers, and I actually have a phone script here. There's a script that you can use for talking to sellers. I need to do more videos on this. Here's a voicemail that you can use if you don't want to answer live. I give you the voicemail script. And okay, cool. Then when you talk to them, now you need to make offers. And it's important you make an offer on every single property. I'm going to show you how to pre-screen sellers, how to come up with the comps or the after repair value, how to estimate the repairs. It's very, very simple. And I actually have formulas and repair worksheets that you can use right here in this mind map. Then you have to make a cash offer. And I have a calculator here that you can use to help you make fast cash offers. I also, what am I doing here? This is what, Joe? What? Is anybody here? Hello? I'm actually giving away my contracts. You're crazy. You're crazy, McCall. What? So I'm giving you my link to my contracts. Also, what other contracts? I have a letter of intent and some option contracts. I'm giving away too much here. Giving away too much. If you like this channel, come on, subscribe to my YouTube channel, would you? All right, I'm going to show you how to do follow-up, what you should follow up, and I also I'm going to give you my free lease option contract. Now that you got a deal under contract, you need to find cash buyers that you can sell it to. And this is where you can find your buyers. This is so important. You can advertise online for free. You can get signs, send letters to recent cash buyers, call them, partner with other wholesalers, find some realtors, go to your local real estate investment clubs. Here's some buyer. I gave you some scripts on what to say to buyers, some miscellaneous notes on this. Oh my gosh, this is so good. So good. Now you need to close the deal. And in this, we talk about different ways to close, how to get the money if you need the money, how to start marketing the contract the right way. What if you can't close? What if you get a bad deal? There they are. So in this mind map as well, I cover the tools that you need, the free ones, the cheap ones, the premium ones. And then here, right here, are the videos. So when I did this mind map before, we called it Wholesaling 101. I did 15 videos talking about all of this. This is an entire course in and of itself that you could probably buy if I wanted to sell it for $500,000. Here is a playlist of all these videos. And now please don't make fun of my shirts, my background and my clothing, and my weight, because this was a long time ago and I was a dork. I still am, but I think I wear better shirts than I did back then. Anyway, here in the mind map is all the videos we did where we walk through step by step all of these things, okay? Even though they're 5 years old as I'm recording this now, they are still just as relevant today as they were back then, okay? So don't just ignore that. We also transcribed every one of these videos. If you want to read the transcriptions of these videos instead of listening to me drab on and on, okay, then you can get that. So all of these, like how to do the direct mail the right way. Here's a link to watch that video where we talked about for 16 minutes how to do. Isn't that a great shirt? I mean, just look at this. I'm a fashion icon. All right. Let's see. Anything else? Some more bonuses in here. All right. So here's the deal. Get your hands on this mind map, because it's completely free, no strings attached. Just go to flipmindmap.com. Go there right now, flipmindmap.com. Put in your name or just your email address, and we'll email it to you. I think after this, I might invite you to watch a special webinar I did about lease options or something like that. But go check it out. Listen, thank you for watching my videos on my channel. Hopefully this video is still sticking around even after what things I talked about on there. Give me some comments and give me some love. Give me a thumbs up down below. Subscribe to my channel. Share this video with somebody if you found it useful. Appreciate you very much. Thanks again. Have a great day.